It's so refreshing to see that the Xbox Series X and S are nice consoles this generation. Meanwhile, I didn't hate the Xbox One. Microsoft definitely had one too many missteps with that damn thing, and they gave the PlayStation 4 the momentum to outsell the console by 2-1. So that's pretty bad. Let's talk about it. A quick little recap of the Xbox consoles before it. The original Xbox wasn't too bad sales-wise, as it outsold Nintendo's GameCube. It sold 24 million units, and with Halo in tow, it justified itself as a major console that generation. Sure, the PS2 sold a blistering 155 million units, but for a first try, the original Xbox could have gone much worse. They were also the biggest advocate for online play with Xbox Live. This was very new and exciting at the time. All in all, despite the decent market sales, Microsoft lost $4 billion over the console's market life. The thing was expensive as hell to produce, and Microsoft spent that marketing money. They were also ready to take that loss and invest all that money to get a new brand off the ground. So now we get to the Xbox 360, and this is what many people consider Xbox's, in quotes, golden age. It's easy to see why, as it outsold the PlayStation 3 for like 90% of the console generation. Coming out a year earlier was a very smart move, red ring of death issues aside. There were also users paying for Xbox Live that brought in millions for Xbox, and this was back when it seemed Xbox was putting out exclusives to actually combat PlayStation. There was also the fact that Sony screwed up royally. PlayStation made the PS3 very confusing for developers to develop games for, and it released at a very high price tag. The Xbox 360 has managed to gain simultaneous release of games that were initially planned to be PS3 exclusives, including Devil May Cry 4, Ace Combat 6, Virtua Fighter 5, Grand Theft Auto 4, Final Fantasy 13, Tekken 6, Metal Gear Solid Rising, and LA Noire. Eventually, Microsoft kind of sat back on the Xbox 360, and the PS3 caught up to it regarding raw sales numbers, but this is the first time that it felt like Xbox genuinely won a generation. Oh no, please, let's not talk about the Xbox One launch. Fine, but you made me. Apparently somebody made a bet with the Xbox division to see how badly they can mangle the Xbox One launch. Let's just say that mission was a success. They priced it at $500, which was a whopping $100 more than the PS4. The Kinect accessory was needed. The system was always needed to be online, and yeah, that included single-player games. There was also the problem that Xbox One players couldn't lend their used game to friends, which in turn allowed Sony to make this masterpiece.
This is how you share your games on PS4.
Thanks.
PlayStation.
The launch was an absolute disaster, and the console never really recovered commercially. It sold an estimated 55 million copies, which may not sound too bad on its own, but then you remember the PS4 sold over twice that. And remember now, unlike the original Xbox, this was an established brand with a very good generation under its belt. Sony and third-party companies were out here releasing absolute bangers throughout the generation for the PS4. Boom, here's Uncharted 4. Boom, here's God of War. Boom, here's Ratchet & Clank. Boom, here's The Last of Us Part 2. Boom, here's Bloodborne. Boom, here's Persona 5. Boom, here's Digimon World Next Order. Sony kept up the momentum through great releases. For a while, owning an Xbox One just seemed so pointless to a lot of people. This line has been said before, but god damn it hits home perfectly. It seemed that a lot of people owned an Xbox One because their friends did, and they wanted to play online games with them. Sometime during the Xbox One generation, Microsoft tried to be more pro-consumer, mostly because it was their only option. Backward compatibility is something that I value dearly, and I think it was a missed opportunity on the PS4. Suddenly, the Xbox One became the best way to play some old games, well, officially, such as Banjo-Kazooie, Skate 3, Viva Pinata, Plants vs. Zombies, among many other games. They also tried something very exciting. Xbox Game Pass. This is a subscription-based service that allows people to play literally hundreds of games for a price of $10 a month for the basic tier or $15 for the ultimate tier. These aren't shit-ass games either. There are some genuine bangers in here. With these two in tow, it seemed like Xbox was starting to get praise and was winning some people over. But there's still the problem of exclusives. For many hardcore gamers, exclusive games are what they're looking for. Sure, a bunch of the casual crowd would just pick up the new COD, new FIFA, or whatever every year, but I think for a system to reach super high heights like the PS2, you need to appease both. Backward compatibility is really cool and all that, but what is the Xbox One's killer app exactly? Rare Replay, which is a compilation of rare games? That's honestly the answer that I personally came up with. The Xbox One doesn't really have a true killer exclusive, and that's coming from someone who really enjoys Rare Replay. Look at the Wikipedia category for Xbox One only games. Compared to the PS4, or hell, even Wii U that had a lot of its games ported to the Switch, that number is small. So this generation, they're buying studios left and right. They bought Bethesda for $7.5 billion. They've acquired smaller studios too, like Double Fine, and helped them complete Psychonauts 2. They just acquired Activision Blizzard on January 18th, 2022 for $68.7 billion. Wait, what? This deal came out of absolutely nowhere. Now Xbox owns Call of Duty. This is an odd thought. I know Sony ponies will cry to the moon about this being anti-consumer, but let's take a minute to talk about it. By the way, the push square comments did not disappoint. And no, I don't hate Sony. I think console wars are dumb, so this isn't a I hate Sony, let's place Xbox out the ass rant. I'm still searching for a damn PS5 and MSRP so I can play Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, Spider-Man Miles Morales, and God of War Ragnarok. I'm not giving in to scalpers as they are scum of the earth. Obviously, not all specifics are out yet, but with this deal, we can assume that Call of Duty, Crash Bandicoot, and other Activision games will be only on Xbox and PC. If the trend continues, this game will also be on Game Pass on their own release day. Unlike the narrative at Push Square, saying that this will limit people from playing their games, this can actually have the potential to open their games to a new audience. Unlike Nintendo and Sony exclusive, which if they really want to throw that term around all willy-nilly, these are the most anti-consumer of all, as they are only tied to their platform. Well, in Sony's case, they might release on PC years after its original release. One can access multiple Game Pass games on their phone, PC, or Xbox machines, which lots of people own. So unless you only buy Nintendo or PlayStation consoles, these games actually really will become cheaper for everyone to at least try out. Now, trust me, I personally don't think this is an all-positive affair either. Some people are saying that Microsoft is running some sort of monopoly, which looks more and more true every day. Like, we thought it was mind-blowing when they bought Bethesda. This is another level. It looks like they're going to be the forerunners into killing physical games, too. How many people are going to want to buy a Call of Duty disc at a full $60 when they can just pay $10 a month to try it out? Who even wants to buy it digitally at that point? Physical games have been losing relevancy for a while now, but this deal may take that over the edge. My question is, what happens to Bobby Kotick, too? Will they buy his contract out? I'm reading very differing reports already, but I want to see him gone. But who the hell knows at this point? 2021 was a pretty big year for Microsoft and the Xbox brand, and it looks like that momentum will be carried right into 2022, especially with this new deal. They have multiple big-name games that either sold very well or were Game of the Year nominees. Psychonauts 2, Forza Horizon 5, Microsoft Flight Simulator, Halo Infinite, Starfield, Age of Empires 4. Are some of the games that were released or are going to be released in this time span. Some of these were topping Steam sales charts, showing them releasing on PC as well as the Xbox console itself was a very smart move for Microsoft. Their philosophy is that you don't need to own their piece of plastic. Of course, it's nice if you do, but they want people to play their games for most. I personally just think that it's refreshing after having to own a Switch to play Super Mario Odyssey or Pikmin 3 Deluxe, or needing to own a PS4 to play Dreams. I, for one, am actually very interested to see how this all works out. It appears that the Xbox Series line has shipped out 12 million units. This lags behind the PS5's roughly 13.5 million, but that's pretty close. I personally thought that Sony would destroy Xbox this generation based on the PS4's performance versus the Xbox One, but I think with these moves, Xbox can keep it closer than I anticipated. I think that the competition is healthy for the industry, because it'll keep all sides on their toes. That's what I want out of the video game industry. Nintendo, Sony, Valve, Microsoft, and whoever else to keep each other in check. Keep the good games coming. I also sincerely hope that Microsoft can look into the troubles at Activision and fix them, because man, that has been a very sad story of 2021, and really before then. Although it does need to be stated again about the Activision deal, we don't know the specifics yet. Maybe they will release their games on PlayStation still. Maybe it will come to Xbox first. Maybe it will be the better version on Xbox. They spent nearly $70 billion though. This is just crazy. Think about it. Microsoft now owns Hearthstone, Overwatch, Call of Duty, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro the Dragon, the Tony Hawk games, and so much more. Microsoft isn't playing around this generation. I really can't wait to see how this plays out. They definitely seem more willing to take risks and do new things than during the Xbox One era.